Secretary Paul. Mr. Thompson, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Acting Secretary, as you know, I've co-chaired the Bipartisan Career and Technical Education Caucus for more than a decade. Since that time, with the help of critical investments from the Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act, I championed in the 115th Congress, we've made tremendous strides in helping students of all ages access these high-quality, affordable programs. Ones that lead to certificates, to in one hand, diplomas in one hand, quite frankly, multiple job offers in the other. I'm very concerned, however, with your department's proposal to expand federal control over successful CTE programs through the regulatory concoction that you're calling CTE apprenticeships. Obviously, we're both very supportive of CTE and apprenticeships, but I've not heard from a single student, employer, or program who thinks it is necessary to combine the two. Just because each of these are successful on their own does not mean the Department of Labor should have any role in enforcing them together through regulation. Now, I have significant concerns with your proposed rules, as do many CTE advocates across the spectrum, including state Perkins agencies and national advocacy associations. So question number one, did the department engage with CTE stakeholders in the development of this proposed rule? And if so, how was their input and feedback incorporated into the proposed rule?
Thank you, Congressman. It's actually a pleasure to meet you. I share your interest in how we make sure that our training programs are leading all communities into actual jobs. That is why there is a $1.5 million grant in your district for it's our Workforce Opportunities in Rural Communities grant, something that we created in this administration, recognizing that when we talk about equity and making sure everybody is included, we have to make sure that our rural communities are not left behind. Our rule and all of our policies are not intended to limit the operations of CTE programs or registered apprenticeship programs. It's our hope is to actually braid together more connectivity where it's needed. Again, so that we're not creating training programs that aren't connected to actual jobs at the end of them. That's been a long time criticism of the workforce development system. And in this administration, we have leaned in very hard on, especially, again, because of the historic job growth that we are seeing.
Yeah.
Many jobs that do not actually require a four-year college degree, these programs become even more important.
We couldn't agree more that there needs to be multiple pathways to success. But under the old adage, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And when I visit career and technical education programs today, there's no longer less enrollment, there's actually waiting lists. And schools are looking to add programs, adding capacity because of the interest. The proposed rule empowers your department to create, quote, industry skills frameworks, end quote. And that new CTE apprenticeships would have to adhere to. The Department of Education, which implements the Perkins Act, is explicitly prohibited from developing and imposing curriculum for CTE programs. You are violating the intent of Congress and law by doing what you're doing. Why is your department attempting an end run on this prohibition and seeking to dictate CTE curriculum without the authorization of Congress? And where does your department believe, what attorneys in some dark corner of the department, why do they believe where this authority comes from?
So, Congressman, I hope I don't say this wrong because I'm not 100% positive, but to your question about whether we have engaged with CTE providers and others in our rule, I believe the comment period might still be open, and if it is, then I would encourage your constituents to engage with us on the rule.
I would encourage constituents all across 435 districts to
your
engage
second
with
question,
feedback.
To your second question about I think that's about the Perkins Act, which is something that is under the purview of the Department of Education, not the Department of Labor. We do not seek to regulate or to change that.
Well, quite frankly, though, apprenticeships are a part of the Perkins Act. We strengthened within the Perkins Act, restored the power and the effectiveness of that. Let me move on to my last question. Over 30 states, including Pennsylvania, are currently recognized by the department as state apprenticeship agencies and granted the authority to register and oversee apprenticeship programs in their state. Do you believe that the federal government understands the needs of employers and the specific occupational requirements in each of these states better than the state apprenticeship agencies?
No, Congressman, which is why many of the ways that we have approached our workforce funds have been to invest in creativity and partnerships and efforts that originate on the ground. And so we believe that employers, local workforce boards, local community-based organizations, unions, and other workforce partners who are invested in creating an effective infrastructure to connect people to good jobs
and my
employers to
time has
people.
expired, and I appreciate what you're saying, but it's counterintuitive and completely opposite of what you're doing, because your department is proposing a rule that would strip states and those wonderful state-level agencies you've talked about. It would strip of their ability to recognize and approve occupations that are eligible for registered apprenticeships, and you're forcing all programs to adhere to a one-size-fits-all. It's just a bad rule. Thank you.
Ms. Stevens, you're recognized for 5 minutes.